July 4, 2025. The global fan community was surprised when the famous actor Sam Heughan, star of the hit series Outlander, just confirmed that he will take on the lead role in a Vietnamese movie called The Other Side of the River. This information was announced through a video posted on Heughan's personal Instagram, in which he appeared in Heughan, wearing a traditional áo dai and speaking a few sentences in Vietnamese quite fluently. Hello, I am very happy to participate in a special project in Vietnam. See you on the screen. Unexpected project, The Other Side of the River. The film is directed by young director Nguyen Mai, about a Scottish journalist, played by Heughan, who comes to Vietnam to find his roots after discovering that he has Vietnamese ancestors. The story will intertwine elements of spirituality, war, and cross-border love, a theme that has never been seen before in Heughan's career. Director Mai shared, "I used to think that the opportunity to cast Sam Heughan was impossible. But when I sent the script to his manager, they responded after only 48 hours. Sam said he was obsessed with the cultural depth and touching story in the film." Sam causes a fever with filming schedule in Vietnam. In just a few days, social networks were flooded with images of Sam Heughan eating Hue beef noodle soup, rowing a boat on the Perfume River, and learning to sing Southern folk songs. The hashtag Sam in Vietnam quickly climbed to the top of Twitter's global trending. A female fan in Hanoi said, "It's unbelievable. I used to only watch him on screen. Now he's here, speaking Vietnamese, and greeting fans very friendly." Career takes an unexpected turn. International film experts say this could be a major shift in Heughan's career, from European TV star to global cultural icon. A critic from The Guardian commented, "Sam Heughan is rewriting the definition of an international actor. He doesn't just play a role, he lives it, even in a country thousands of miles away from home." The Other Side of the River, when Sam Heughan became a Vietnamese son. On his first morning in Hue, Sam Heughan woke up in a restored ancient house on the banks of the Perfume River. The film crew chose as the main setting. In his hand was the Vietnamese version of the script, which he had personally written in pencil. "Don't act, live with the character." In a test scene, Sam had to express his emotions when his character, James Callahan, found a handwritten letter in Vietnamese from his deceased grandfather. Although he was not yet fluent in Vietnamese, he insisted on saying the letter verbatim without dubbing. The entire studio fell silent when he exclaimed, "Grandpa, I've arrived. I understand why Vietnamese blood flows in my heart." When the director shouted, "Cut!" the crew members fell silent with emotion. A young woman in the costume department wiped away her tears. He not only acted, he felt the soul of the character. "I am Vietnamese and I also felt that he understood the pain of this country." The moment that made Vietnamese fans ecstatic. Sam did not separate himself from his fans like many other A-list stars. The evening after filming, he suddenly appeared at a riverside cafe where art school students gathered to sing and play. No one expected that Sam would take the initiative to sit down with them, smile gently and speak in Vietnamese with a Scottish accent. "Can I learn to sing?" A young man handed him a guitar, just a few simple chords. And then, the unthinkable happened. Sam Heughan sang Trin Kong Sun's Diem Shua, clumsy but full of emotion. Everyone held their breath, some burst into tears. A video recording that moment was posted on TikTok and after only 4 hours, it reached more than 10 million views. The international press called it one of the most beautiful cultural exchange moments of 2025. A love letter to Vietnam. After finishing the last scenes, Sam wrote a handwritten letter to Vietnamese fans, posted on social media. "I came to Vietnam as an actor, but left as a student of history, of kindness and of love. Vietnam not only touched my heart, but also made me want to come back, not for work, but because I found a part of myself here." Climax scene. In the reign of Hue, the secret is revealed. Setting. It is pouring rain in Hue. James and Lan are standing in the middle of an old cemetery by the river. The grave of James' grandfather, a Scottish soldier who was wounded and stayed in Vietnam during the war, has just been found. The rain is cold but no one leaves. Lan looks at James, his face is wet with rain and tears. Lan, softly. Are you sure, you want to hear the whole truth? James, raising his head, eyes full of doubt. That's what I came here for. Tell me, everything. Lan pulls out an old letter from her coat, the paper is yellowed. Lan. Your grandfather fell in love with a Vietnamese girl. They couldn't be together. After the war, he was sent to a war invalids camp, no contact allowed. But she is my grandmother. James was silent, his voice breaking. James. So, you and I. Lan, nodding, smiling sadly. We are blood, in a way. You are my grandfather's grandson. I am my grandmother's grandson. Their love never ended, but through us, it still lives on. Silence. The wind blew hard, blowing the letter from Lan's hand. James rushed after it, caught it, and held it tightly in his hand. James. I didn't come here to find my ancestors. I came to understand why I always felt like I was missing something. Now I know. Lan, looking deeply into his eyes. Maybe you don't just find what you lost. You find something new. James. Family. They stood silently in the middle of the ancient cemetery. In the distance was the river flowing, quiet but unceasing. Like the veins of time, connecting two generations, two countries, and two strangers who seem unlikely to meet. Clapperboard final scene. Light after the rain. Setting. An early morning in Heughan. The old town is still covered in mist. James Callahan, Sam Heughan, sits writing in an old diary, where each page is a journey he has taken to find his roots. On the table is a letter his grandfather wrote but never sent, now translated into English. Narration, James's voice, slow, emotional. I used to think that looking back to the past was to understand where I belonged. But sometimes, the past is not just a memory, but a bridge to what is living in the present. The camera pans gently through the images. Lan is teaching young students in a rural classroom. James walks through the morning market, greeting vendors in awkward Vietnamese. The two of them sit together by the river, listening to his old cassette tape. The man's voice says in English, "If my children and grandchildren hear this, know that I have never forgotten." Final scene. James puts a lantern into the river on the night of the full moon. Lan stands beside him. They both release their unspoken words into the water, letting them drift away, and stay, with the flow of time. Lan whispers, "Will you come back?" James, smiling, looking at the lantern. "I never left." The camera slowly pans up to the starry sky, then fades to dark. Excerpt from short story, Moonlit Night Without Words. Heughan, a full moon night. Lan quietly spread a small mat on the brick floor in front of the old house. On the other side was James, sitting awkwardly cross-legged. They said nothing, only listening to the sound of insects and the moonlight reflected through the banana leaves. On the table between them was an old leather notebook. The diary of Lan's grandmother, a woman who never married, who burned incense every night for a name that had never appeared in the family register. Lan opened the notebook, her voice low. "My grandmother writes here, every night. Not to tell, but to wait. Waiting for a man who will never return." James flipped a few pages. The Vietnamese handwriting was graceful, but painful. Each line was like a cut on time. "You were never a man of this land, but you belong to it like a raindrop belongs to a storm that has passed. I don't wait for you, I wait for what remains between us." James looked up. His eyes were red. James. "I used to think war was just a chapter of history, but it is a whole life frozen in silence." Lan nodded. And silence is what kills memories. We come to say what they cannot. A long silence. The moon seemed brighter. James handed Lan a small, crumpled piece of paper. James. I wrote this, but I didn't dare say it. Lan opened it. On the paper were 4 simple lines, handwritten in unaccented Vietnamese. I am the child and grandchild of a lost love. I wish to continue living but they cannot. I want to stay. If you agree. Lan burst out laughing. Tears fell without anyone noticing. She nodded slightly. Lan. I agree, but on one condition. James, frowning. What? Lan. You have to learn to pronounce Vietnamese correctly. They both laughed, softly, but it was the first laugh after layers of heavy memories.